Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Mariner of Spirit. I'm Greg, I'm your host. It's another Friday night, and we're closer and closer to when Santa Claus comes. That's for sure. So, all those little people out there in the audience, no, there's not any little people in the audience right now. They're all big people. Danny, me, and where'd Brandon go? Brandon told off already. Anyway, uh, I have a great guest for you tonight. Somebody that I wish I would have had on earlier, but it's a proper time, and it's a proper time to really to be able to go ahead and think about exactly where this person's at and the opportunities to be had if you've never gone before. So, and I'll leave it at that. Uh, I start off usually by going ahead and talking about authors, people that I enjoy reading, and I think that people in the community would also enjoy reading. And one of them is Dr. Heatherly Langdon, who's a awesome lady. Ron Iacovati, Lynn Monet, Dr. Rebecca Foster, Bruce Holliday, Rex Nielsen, Todd Bates, and that's about it right now. And if I hit anybody that has got another book out or something like that, and you'd like me to go ahead and mention it before the show starts, please do so. The next part I sort of get into is the people that I support, and the first one's PKC Paranormal Kicks Cancer with Chris Gaskowski and Alex Wilkinson from down in Florida. And they go around and do benefits, paranormal benefits they have, and the money that they make from that is donated back to Paranormal Kicks Cancer. And then it's used for helping in cancer research. The next one was Tim Miley, and I promised myself I would have called him this week just to find out if he's still hanging in there or what's going to be happening with his charity, because he's just an awesome guy, and his charity is Autographs, and it's with he started it after he had lost his pup and decided that it would be a good idea, was trying to just hold on, and looked down and he saw a picture of him and his pup, and he decided to go ahead and make copies of it. And then he took it to a regular Paracon and bought a space and went ahead and sold pictures to start the charity off. Now, for the last, I don't know, for me, quite a few years, and we've had the opportunity to go to a lot of these events that he's held. And he always has top-notch speakers, people that are of the same genre, and they all go ahead and speak the same lingo. And a lot of times he'll go ahead and throw one or two different ones in just to go ahead and mix it up a little bit and make everybody have an enjoyable time. But if you ever get the opportunity, if he's still, and I'll be able to tell you this probably before Christmas, if he's going to continue on, and if he does, he is the guy to go ahead and find and go to one of his events, because they're really wonderful. My third one, and the one that's the newest, is the Jenny Parker, Jessica Petrie Foundation, And that's a research for expecting mothers and families with pregnant women with mental illness. And that is Howard Petrie. And everybody knows Howard, Paranormal United Network, and he's been a great man, and he's the one that co-hosted this last big conference, Fear Fest, I believe it was, down in New Orleans. So hats off to him for having a great show and a great conference, and a lot of people had a great time. So without further ado, I think that's about it. So I'm not going to waste any more time because this lovely lady has just come out from Wisconsin and came back down to New Orleans. So we got to get her while she's still fresh from Wisconsin. And here we go. This is Jennifer Tully. She's a lovely, lovely lady from down in New Orleans who happens to be a member of the New Orleans Paranormal Society. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Glad to have you on here.
Well, thank you.
Can I call you Jen or?
Sure.
Okay. So I watched you the whole show with when you were on with Brandon.
Yes.
And it was remarkable because of the things that you know about New Orleans. I mean, there's people there that probably lived there for 70 years, and they don't know a quarter of what you know. And you know that is very good. You'd be like a general guide. You wouldn't even have to do another paranormal investigation there. You could just go ahead and give people information and charge them for it.
I used to do that.
Did you really?
I did. I was a tour guide. That's how I started in this.
Okay, but I mean, besides even a tour guide, I mean, just giving them information.
Oh.
Not that you don't think the guides would get upset, do you?
Oh, some us. You never know. You can't ever make everybody happy all the time. You never know.
Right. So you were up in Wisconsin.
I was.
How was that?
Good. Family visit. It was a lot of fun. Seeing mom and dad and stepson and son and all that stuff. So
And
it's a good time.
When's the last time you were up there?
Last Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I don't get there as much as I like.
Well, sure. You're a busy lady.
I am.
Now, when you went ahead and you mentioned, for instance, about your mediumship, and I know that comes into play quite a bit with what you've been doing down there because of the amount of people that are there. It's a lot different than if you just went into a house that was, derelict. It was run down and nobody was in it. And you went in there and you just figured out exactly what you needed to figure out. It would be entirely different than going into places that have had probably about 10,000 people in it in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
it is.
I'll start off by going ahead and, you mentioned the fact that you mentioned the 400 investigations.
Yeah.
That's a lot of notches in your gun belt or in your gun handle.
Yes, it is.
How did you keep track of that?
Well, we do, we take private cases on top of doing a paranormal investigation tour where we take people into places. So it's mainly the tour plus the private cases. There just happened to be a computer system to track it. But yeah, it's insane the amount of investigations we've done. And I think that's kind of like, we haven't been doing it full time, except for we're going into our third year, which is where we're going to keep somewhere between 300 and 500 a year. that includes the private investigations too. So I think that's where we got quite an education in a very small amount of time, education in what happens and the paranormal, et cetera, that a lot of investigators take a lot longer to get, just experience wise, because
Right.
you experience many different things. You've got to start learning about things you never thought you would have to learn about.
Do you think some of the cases that you've had are amplified by the amount of people that have been in there before you?
The places that we go, nobody else goes in.
Okay.
So
Well,
we're very,
that kills that question.
yeah. I will say that we've brought other groups into these locations, and so they're probably a lot more active when we're around, because when you're there as often as we are, you do just get a relationship with some of what we call the resident or house spirits on top of the transient that kind of just pops in. So we do see a difference in, or we hear about, well, if we have a new lady who started, and some of the spaces just aren't as active for her yet, and some are because she's familiar with them. So it's interesting to see that I don't know you, I'm not talking to you kind of energy with some of the spirits that are there.
Isn't it just like the real world?
Yep, absolutely.
So in that respect, I know that I was thinking of how I would continue to handle certain cases or actual investigations around here in some of the places that I go back to every other year or every 3 years or so, and try to change it up a little bit in the respect of, number one, just making sure I acknowledge who the spirits are that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And then asking after that, after I fulfill that, has anybody else joined you people?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that seems to come, it could come, it could be a two-way battle. Like, you could go ahead and do it that way, and then they could turn around, and they're smart enough to know that they could go ahead and play with you on that too.
Yeah, they are.
So, I mean, when I went ahead and said that, I said, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. I should double check where I'm at. Sometimes it just, when you try to ask a good question, it's better to go ahead and say, hey, Jen, how the heck are you?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. This is what we do is kind of a mini class too. And that's the same approach we tell people. You have to look at it like you've been invited to a dinner party that you don't know anyone at. You're the friend of a friend, and you're bringing that bottle of wine. You don't know if the host drinks wine. And so how would you act in that situation? Except now you can't see any of the guests, right? So someone tells you, oh, these are the regulars here. Okay, well then ask the regulars questions and then see what else. But yeah, that's the same approach we take. And that's basically how we break it down to people. They're just like us, as my friend says, without the human suit.
Without the human suit. That's something that I really have to go ahead and look into.
Well, we get a couple that play with people, they'll see some of our apps, demon and malicious and elemental, and people get scared, and I'll have to remind them. I said, do you ever meet that living person who, when they find out for something or something annoys you, that they take it upon themselves to do just that one thing because they want to annoy you or scare you? And I said, that's what you're getting more often than not. Demonics, etc. Because in movies people think they're everywhere, right? And it's a lot more rare than what Hollywood portrays, for sure. They're real, but they're just not as common as is that so people kind of get scared and, oh, what do I do? And stand your ground. Say, I don't want to talk about that. You're not. I don't want you to try to scare me. I'll talk to someone else then, please. So
Well, and then you've got that whole other community, which is, the voodoo and the vampires and all those elements that come into play that I had no idea. I had heard about the vampires a little bit.
mhm.
I had heard that, but I wasn't ready for that kind of presentation where and I guess they're no different than we are.
No, they're not. Some of my, as you saw, some of my good friends are vampires, and it's a magical practice like anything else.
Right.
I mean, and that's really the long and the short of it. Um, and like so many things, including voodoo, very vilified in Hollywood, misportrayed for sure.
Yes. Yes. Do
So
do they help you sometime when it comes to a location?
yes, Papa Czar was at um, the Marie Laveau house investigation with us. We brought him in night 3. Um, we needed a voodoo expert there, and so he came, and it was very interesting to learn from him some of the things he could pick up on and fill in some blanks for us, things that we had never heard of, and then we got a little education about some of the lower loas um, that were mistaken at one point for imps. But we don't talk about those here. When you talk about the loas and voodoo, you talk about the main ones, Papa Legba, etc. You don't get every level and every name or everything. And it never dawned on me there's more. And so then there's your education a little bit in that. I guess it's
Right.
the same with angels and
Well, I
too.
was at I as soon as that started out and Papa came on, it was like wait, it's like almost like I knew this gentleman. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, there's a trick here. But
No.
no, there's no trick. He was an
Mm-mm.
honest to goodness, real live human being who had a
Yeah.
big heart and he
Yep.
loved what he was doing,
Yep.
which takes it above and beyond what happens with a lot of other people, especially when they don't have all the elements like what you have down there.
Yeah.
And all they have is a paranormal investigation, and they can't get along. You know what I mean? And I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know why I said it. But then you people, in New Orleans, all you New Orleans is it New Orleanians? How do you say
New
that?
Orleanians. Yeah, New Orleanians. Yep.
When you see all the things that cross over each other, all the different practices and all of the religions and everything, and all the history that's there, you would figure that they should be fighting tooth and nail.
The
And they
spirits.
they they well, not only the spirits but the people that reside there and follow the different practices.
Yeah. No,
You know,
there's bickering like anything else, but yeah, and at the end of the day, we all get along, and there's a lot of crossover between the practices too. Um, so which is interesting. The witchcraft here has got a little voodoo in it. The voodoo's got a little Catholicism in it. The vampire it's all just got a little bit of each in it. It's kind of interesting, and it's just I think it's because we're so in such close proximity, but maybe it goes to that show you that in the end we're all talking about the same thing and we're just arguing about what to call it.
for a lot of people that weren't here and
Provoking.
didn't
Yep.
see Brandon's show, could you go ahead and describe Papa Igba for them? I don't
Papa
even have
Czar.
trouble.
Oh, he's
Papa
a
Shore.
sweetheart. He is a practicing sanguine vampire, which means he does consume blood. He actually has physical. Oh, okay. He actually has physical effects happen to him if he does not consume X amount. He kind of went over what he normally does, and these are willing donors, etc. Um, he's also a voodoo priest, and I mean, exorcist to his own right as well. He does readings. He's a fantastic medium, and like you said, he's a big old teddy bear. We just love him, but his knowledge is incredible. And he's such a great asset to have, to just be able to call him to, hey, will you come here? And he's just there all the time. There's not a no from him.
So he's a pillar of the community.
He really is. Yeah. And more people know him, and there's a lot of people that know him. I mean, Kim and Scott Horn were here, and
Right.
and they were here for that Marie Laveau investigation, and it took her to Voodoo Authentica, which is where Papazar works, and she met him, and she kind of, oh my gosh, I can't believe you know him. And I thought, what do you mean? Why? Is he famous? I didn't know he wrote a book. I didn't know that people outside of New Orleans knew him. I had no clue. But New Orleans is like that. You could be the most famous person in the world and walk down a street where locals are, and we might just give you the what's up head nod, and that's it. Like, you might get that. Other than that, people are just people to us. It was interesting to me, and it's like, oh, you wrote a book? I'm gonna come down and get a copy. You should have told me. But he wouldn't say, unless he's asked. That's him. He wouldn't just go, oh, by the way, I wrote a book. That's not him at all. Not him. So he's a fantastic guy, and he does readings out of Voodoo Authentica. So we do refer. He's one of the places we refer people to who want readings, that come on our stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you guys both do them via the internet at all?
Readings?
Yeah.
I think he does phone readings. I don't do readings.
Okay.
I lots of reasons. I got into a situation for this press junket we did for Disney, the Haunted Mansion, and this tarot reader they had hired left. And so they looked at my bio and went, oh, she's a medium. They started sending me members of the press to read. I'd never done a sit down and let's talk reading before, ever. And so it was very nerve-wracking. I didn't like that pressure to perform. When we do our tours, though, if it happens, it happens. And it happens more often than it doesn't. And I kind of warn people, hey, if I start asking you weird questions, or I start talking about food memories, that's how I work with spirits. It's easier to get out of them in a name. And I'm not crazy. So think about it. It might be your loved one. So, I do what I do, and the way I do it, if it comes up, that's great. I have people who this is what they do, and it's what they do for a living. And I think it's just better for me to send them for a full reading to somebody else,
Right. That's very nice of you to think that way, because you're sharing and caring.
Yeah.
And I imagine there's quite a few other people down there that do the same kind of, carry on the same kind of way.
Right.
Where do you have a couple sticklers that don't?
Refer?
that aren't part of the family. In other words, they don't want to go ahead and behave as family. They want to be on their own.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's cool. And that's where I'm going to keep that one, because it was like,
Yep.
now you have across the bridge in Mandeville, you have some cemeteries. Now, have you been in those cemeteries?
No, I don't. I don't see myself investigating a cemetery. I don't want to say never, but I don't know why I have a reservation about it, but I do.
Okay, well, that's
I
part of
can't
your
even see
mediumship.
it could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's supposed to be the peaceful place.
Yes.
And if they're still hanging out there, or whatever's still hanging out there, probably not going to be good. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I've been in the cemeteries here, not investigating, just touring, and I've done.
Saying hi.
Yeah, we'll bring. There was a friend of mine, Arena, who lived here, and she left right before Hurricane Ida. She was teaching me cemetery work that's done in voodoo, and it was just, we bring offerings and flowers, and you just walk around and look at the different grave sites and tombs, and if something kind of grabs you or touches you, you leave a little flower for them or a little offering for them.
Well,
It's
that's
just,
awesome.
yeah. So it was a kind of it was a cool thing to learn from her. That's my cemetery work. But I guess it is somewhat of an investigation. We did get some information from them, but there was no equipment. It was just a feeling kind of exercise.
Do you have any favorite spots in town that you like to go to
Yeah.
talk to spirit?
Yeah.
Could you divulge those, or are they
Yeah.
top secret?
No, no, no. I've got two, and then my husband, who's also an investigator, he has two. I like the Hotel Provincial. That's one of our locations that the family that owns the hotel lets us into part of it, and that's a fun, very musical place. We get some jazz musicians from what used to be called Gallatin Street, which is the French Market now. It's where bars and clubs, and we're back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and we get a set of jazz musicians that show up that like to play music. We'll watch them on the SLS camera, or we'll play music for them, and they play along, which is kind of cool. And then I don't know if you watched the episode with Brick Bishop and Sam Bowling. They have a shop called Hands of Fate. They've got a back what they call the seance room, but that was the site of Mary Oneida Toop's first witches' coven and Church of Witchcraft, first in Louisiana, second in the U.S., actual 501c3 church in that building. So that's a very, very interesting space to go into. And my husband, he loves the Andrew Jackson Hotel. There's a haunted supply closet he goes into, and I'm not joking. There's some kids there. A vampire priest, by the way, is one of the spirits there. And the rooms are super active for people. I mean, they think they advertise it on their site, but people say they get a lot of footsteps and things like that, kids giggling. They'll turn pens around, they'll turn lights on. So we'll use some of those flashlight pens and see if we can get the kids to move them.
Wow.
And then he goes to a private residence owned by Priestess Claudia Williams, who's a Louisiana voodoo priestess, high priestess, I believe, in New Orleans. Would go on her back building and do some investigation there. That's where I've actually, in her back courtyard, I've actually picked up on our SLS camera two spirits having a fist fight. Literally one sitting on top of the other and just pounding him in the face.
Pummeling them.
Seriously.
Holy cow.
I caught him. I said, are you two fighting? Which two of you are fighting? And the person on top, the spirit on top that was doing the punching, stopped and like the head on the stick figure kind of did this, like it bowed down, almost like he turned to look at me, like, who's talking to me? I didn't get an answer. The fight continued.
That's really crazy.
It's the first time I've ever seen that. But yeah.
Are there any other things that you've seen that are really, really, really strange?
Oh boy. Yes, we do we dancing. The spirits at Claudia's house dance, and well, they love Michael Jackson, and we've actually seen them do the moonwalk, and like the hat tip and the flip that he had done. We've seen him kind of, two of them standing next, like across from each other, and then one would move, and you'd almost see him point like this to the next one, and then the other one would start moving, and they just go back and forth, and the dancing would start to become appropriate for the song. We've even played the YMCA for them.
Oh, wow.
Dead people do the YMCA. Whoever knew? You're
You
this
know-
old, found that out.
You know, another one that might not be bad. This one group that I was with always played Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And did you say Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
You did.
Yep.
I didn't. Then I put the wrong name out there. I'm trying to think who it was. From Minnesota. That's who it was.
Okay.
Who died. He was
Prince.
a great Prince.
Prince. Yep, we play him too.
Okay. That's the one I would say, hey, try that one. Because they love him to death.
They love Freddie Mercury and Queen too. And oddly enough, we'll dance to Another One Bites the Dust. And sometimes we have to break it to the living people that spirits do have a sense of humor, even though they're dead.
That's really amazing.
So they're like, you shouldn't play that. Oh, they like it. They like Queen. I don't know. It's interesting. The dead musicians are the ones they dance the most to.
Real fast, I'm going to just rebound on my head here for a second and mention the people's names who have joined us in the comments. We got Barbara Woodbury Spear, Danny Botts, Joanne Stewart, Tracy Rizzo, Adriana Trudel, Crystal Hill, Bubba Haley, Tracy, well, we already said Tracy. Kira Coffin's here. Hi, Kira. Pam Harris is here. Faith Lockhart. We've got Carol. We said Carol Garcia.
Hi, Carol. She said hello to me before.
And Bob Mowry. He's here. Tell your but this is the same thing again. I don't know what you're talking about, Mike. Tell your buddy Wawa Camquad. I love you guys. I don't know who that is, Mike, really. And not sure if the spelling's correct, but Marie LeBeau. Where was that mentioned?
Marie Laveau. I that was one of the investigations we did.
Okay. You were just talking about what I just asked, is what he said. Pam Harris, Mike Maury again, Carol Garcia, Chris Carr is here, Dark Horse Paranormal. Great team of people there. Do a great job. Adriana, Mike Maury, and we're still got some more people here. Tracy Rizzo, and that's about it. Glad having all you people. I know that I have to apologize for having a snap right there. I don't know why I had it, but sometimes when I'm dealing with more than one type of investigation, in other words, we're cross crafts because we're
Mhm.
going back and forth from the paranormal to the actual voodoo type,
Yeah.
and then the other ones, and then just the people that are involved down there. Is it that's a whole other probably 5 shows.
It is.
You know what I mean? You know that you could go on and on and on, and you
Yeah.
never hit the same one twice,
No.
which is really tremendous. That yeah, that just goes to show you right there the area that you're living in.
Yeah. My poor
Because
mom, I was up there and I'll take calls with people that will say, "Hey, I need you to come out or I'm having this problem." My poor mom, I answered while I was up there and it was somebody who was having an issue with someone who used to live in the house with them, and things that were happening to this person and this person's children and all this other stuff. And it the person that used to live there was practicing some kind of like astral projection, but like for very long periods of time, kind
oh,
of magic. And I had texted someone and said, "Have you heard of this?" And then he gave me a name, and then I looked up in a book. It was crazy how we just kind of went circled around. But I'm on the phone saying, "Okay, so until you get someone out there, I need you to do this." And I just kind of went down this uh, list of get salt baths, get frankincense, get prayer of Saint Michael. I just kind of went through a bunch. And by the way, the objects you still have left over from your person that it might be attached to the object. Do not throw it out, but go get yourself a glass case, put some salt, put some sage, seal it up. It was funny. My poor mom's just listening to me.
I bet you she went bad. She went bad. I can't say bad.
No,
Something crazy.
at one point, she kind of got up and started pulling. We were outside, started pulling some weeds. I mean,
That's how bad it got.
she said, I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yep, I know you're working."
See my see I'm this where I'm at here and I do my shows. It's known as the basement people or my ghosties. You know,
Yeah.
this is where I go to be with my ghosties because there's some sort of weird jealousy about the different things that we all do, and the other people that are involved have no idea what's going on.
Mm-mm. I
You
was like,
know,
"Mom, this is a normal Tuesday. It's fine." Right.
they haven't got me yet, Mom.
No, we're doing good.
That's why I got underneath this coat here. That's why I've got this giant Bowie knife.
Yeah. As someone,
But
I think, did someone ask about provoking? I think in the comments someone did. Where is that? I thought it came up.
you saw that? I didn't
Pam
see Pam.
here.
Pam
Yeah.
Harris. I
So
know
she,
there's another question here that we're gonna have to cover. Pam Harris, Jennifer. I I find when investigating if I talk to spirits as if they're still living in the present, I seem to get more responses from them. Not all do this. Do you talk to spirit as living? Or also question, how do you feel about provoking?
so I do. I ask them just like they're sitting next to me. "How are you doing tonight? How have you been? What's happened since I left? What do you do when I'm not here?" Absolutely. And is there something you want to talk about? We've got our questions, but so often people forget to just sit back and ask spirit, "What do you want to say?" instead of answering me. And no, I do not. Provoking, not okay. Nope, don't do it. That's dangerous. That is dangerous stuff. I've seen firsthand what happened to somebody who decided to challenge / provoke a demonic, and it was the longest 36 hours of my life with what happened. So we tell people, think about it. You got to remember these spirits are just like us without the human suit. If you walked into a bar and you just picked someone and you started cussing at them and yelling and acting stupid, what do you think is going to happen to you? Well, somebody's going to punch someone, right? So if you wouldn't do it to a living person, don't do it to a dead person. But that's different than setting boundaries, though, right?
Right.
So if you don't want to be touched, you tell them, do not touch me. That is not okay. A spirit going down a path, seeing words that make you uncomfortable. The same as a living person. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk to somebody else. I don't want to talk to you. That's not provoking. That's just setting respect out for yourself and boundaries for yourself. And that's fine to me. You have a right to not want to be touched. You have a right to not want to talk about something. So we kind of try to teach people the difference between the two.
We ran into a situation like that. I've been quite a few times, but the one I'm going to bring up is the fact that most of the spirits that were there went along with what we were wishing.
Mm-hmm.
It was these youngsters. There were two teenagers that it was like, yeah, buzz off type situation, and they were drinking. So I don't know, but they were spirit in more ways than one. But you think about that and you go, you might have a little curl there every once in a while to what you were asking about, Pam. I think, and I would go along 100% with what Jennifer was saying. And there's another one down here. As long as I'm gonna be doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and bring them up. Here's something.
Maybe the fact they dance to them while she's still performing in the afterlife. Tracy, we've often wondered. Priestess Claudia used to travel with the New York Dolls. She's very musician. She'd sing. She plays several instruments. And so Johnny Thunder from the New York Dolls actually is one of the spirits in her house. And so we do wonder sometimes, because of our connections to the music world, that these spirits are dancing, because maybe there's some famous people there that we don't know, and we're not. They're like, just don't tell them I'm here.
Here's another one. Here's another one for you.
No, I didn't. Never.
So your baptism under fire was a lot.
Our second and third cases were demonic cases.
You got to be kidding me.
No.
True demonic?
Yes, the second one was a banshee and an incubus and some type of hooved, horned thing that we were never able to figure out what it was. The family disagreed on whether or not we should be the ones to help facilitate some assistance in the house, or if the family members should continue to do it on their own. And so we told the women who called us that that they just needed to all come together to a decision and let us know what it was. And whatever it was obviously not a wrong answer. But we couldn't keep going into a place where some family members were actually disruptive about us being there. And the woman died, unfortunately. And the third case, true demonic. And
who did you bring in?
We have it certified for an exorcism. the place. And so we are waiting on the owners to get back to us with a date and time. But Papa Czar is going to be assisting on that one, probably. We're going to do a multi-faith exorcism.
Has he done a whole bunch of those? Papa Czar?
I don't know how many he's done. I don't know. I think it's a family thing. Like, I think it's a follow in someone's footsteps that he's learned it. So, do I think Swamp is haunted? Yes.
So Mike says, so do you think the swamps are haunted?
Yeah, Ruddock, Louisiana. Julie the Swamp Witch. That's a place I want to go. It was destroyed by a hurricane, and before it was destroyed, there was a lady who was a voodoo priestess. She called herself Julie, and she and her husband, apparently the town just loved them. But it sounded like they loved him more than her. So when he passed, they kind of turned on her. And before the hurricane hit, the rumor and the legend is that she said, "I'm going to take this town down and all of you with me." And the hurricane hit, and the only building left standing in that town to this day is her cottage.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's
and you
crazy.
got to get to part of it by swamp boat. That's also an area where we have the Rougarou, our werewolf, swamp wolf. That's some area that would be. So there's a Jonathan Foray puts on the Rougarou Festival every year. He'd be great to have on and talk about werewolf legends. You know, I was on Dave Schrader's podcast with him, and I was like glued to him because I wanted to know more about the werewolves in Louisiana. So it was very interesting to hear the historical stuff that he added with that, which was super cool. But yeah, swamps are crazy haunted.
Like they say that, you know, places that are that remote carry a lot more energy than areas that are actually occupied with people.
Mm-hmm. And think of all the water.
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Just the Absolutely. Water alone. And I have a friend that lives in Mandeville, but I still haven't contacted him yet. But I will. But Mike Maury also wanted to know some more information if you know about that LeBeau lady.
Marie
LeBeau.
So Marie Laveau was, if anyone saw American Horror Story, forget who played her. Was it Angela Bassett? I don't remember. No disrespect to the actor who was handed a role and was told how to play it, right? It had to do with what was told. But you couldn't have gotten Marie more wrong. They got the hairdresser part thing and they got the voodoo thing right. That's it. She was the daughter of the man who owned her mom, and he freed her mom before Marie was born. So Marie was never a slave. She was born free. She was raised Catholic, as was tradition in New Orleans. She did start to practice voodoo, but what you see as far as the very staunch voodoo portrayal is actually her daughter, Marie II, more so than her mom ever would be. She was a beloved healer and giver to the community. She owned several tombs throughout the city. They say she's buried in St. Louis, #1. Let me tell you, folks, don't waste your time. They slapped a plaque on a tomb that was owned by her family. True. They have no idea if she's there or not. True. They just needed to give some people a place to go and say she's in here. That's it. Nobody really knows exactly where she's at. But she would use money for making healing potions and dressing hair to help free people of color from slavery. If they died and did not have a tomb to go into, she would allow them to be buried in one of them that she owned. She was so beloved that the New York Times wrote an obituary and published an obituary about her that said, "Our beloved Marie passed away."
Oh
So
my,
she was not even close to what people think.
that
No
is
evil.
that is really amazing, and I'm glad that you told everybody that, because I was not underneath that impression myself. Of course, I didn't know that much about her, but what I thought I knew about her was incorrect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get some of my information from Carolyn Morrow Long's book on Marie Laveau. She wrote one on Marie Laveau and one on Delphine Lalaurie, who, and this woman's a researcher. Like, she's not going to write it down if she doesn't have it verified about 10 different ways. But there's a gentleman who's a tour guide here. His name's Doug. He magic practitioner, but Marie's one of the spirits he works with, and he's also on top of Papa Czar, which, if you know, there's a voodoo authority too. But Doug does a great voodoo tour where he tells people the truth about Marie and the difference between Marie and Marie II.
Wow. So Carol Garcia says also, I think some investigation groups talk to spirits like they're stupid, such as asking a spirit to say, "Can you say peanut?" I feel that's the meaning.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. There's a way to say it. I've Ron Younghavetti and Lourdes Gonzalez, or they were on our tour. I've seen them do things like that, but what they do though is spirits were trying to give the people in the room verification that you can hear us and that you're here. Could you please repeat the word X? So if you say it like that, then I don't think it's demeaning. But if you just say peanut, just this stupid repeat everything I know. But that's why a lot of groups do it, is because they want to know, unless and if you've got to be using a spirit box or no app or anything like that, because you run the risk of a microphone permission or something. Because then if you say peanut and it's an app and it says peanut, well, did it just record what you said, or you know what I mean? So they do it a lot with just the spirit boxes where you wouldn't have that permission. Yeah, Ron and Lourdes. Yeah, they're great.
And that's her follow up to what you just said about LeBeau.
Yeah.
And it's very sad that she's portrayed in that way after all she did during her life.
Yep.
Which is true to force.
Yep. But people in New Orleans, especially in our little community, are very protective of her. And so many of us want her real story to be out there, how she really was in life. Because voodoo and her are just so falsely portrayed. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm just glad we get.
Why do you think that happened?
Nice doesn't sell.
You think that somebody in the community was responsible for that? Or do you think it was somebody from the outside completely?
It could have been either that started those rumors, because she was a free woman of color. She owned property, which was a New Orleans law, but that didn't mean everyone here agreed with that. Because according to people in that time, people of color were not human, right? They were treated like animals. They were passed and sold like animals and chattel. There's bills of sale with humans' names on them. That's not okay. But in that time, there were people that thought it was very much okay. And when you have someone who's so beloved, who's a figure that that she was, they wouldn't have wanted to give an African American woman power like that of being so loved and portrayed so positively. Still, they'll tear him down.
I think it's amazing that she didn't cause any revenge to
That
the
you know of.
people.
That you know of.
Okay. Point well taken. Do you guys understand what she just said?
Ask Papa Czar that question.
Yeah, Papa. Yeah, I think the night that he was on, that I saw him, and I don't know if it was on Anthony's or Brandon's or what, but just the guy himself doesn't come across at all like what everybody thought. And this goes back to the beginning of the show, and it's like, yeah, that guy could turn you into a frog in a minute.
You probably could.
And you'd be sitting on a lily pad for the rest of your life. It's just wow. But that's
the Princess and the Frog was not real.
You got some goon come down from one of the cities up north and has no idea who he's dealing with, and boy, that poor guy's got a.
He's gonna have a bad day.
Yeah, he's gonna have a bunch of bad days.
So go
ahead.
Oh, you're gonna love this story. We had a gentleman who was on one of my tours, and he was in where I call the Coven, Hands of Fate. And there's pictures of portraits, paintings of some of Brick's ancestors on the walls. One of them is named John Talbot. And very discerning gentleman, a little bald right here. And he's got a little cane, and he's just very, man in this painting. And this gentleman, I think he was trying to impress the woman he was with. I don't know. But he looked up at, and John's spirit's there. I bring him bourbon and all this other stuff, and he gets mad at me when I don't. But he looked up at this portrait and said, "What are you looking at, Chrome Dome?" And I thought, uh-oh, that's not good. And I was like, I don't think you should say that. He's like, what's he going to do? I don't think you should say that either. And then I think over the spirit box, we heard "stupid" in the corner, which is the guy was sitting in the corner. So finally, the gentleman was so obnoxious, we had to fake end the tour to get them to leave. So then we brought everyone back in to finish it so they could have an investigation without him saying stupid stuff. So I told everyone that night, I said, mark my words, I don't have to do anything about what he said. I pointed the portrait, said, this guy right here is going to handle it. And I said, I'm fairly sure he's going to face plant somewhere in the quarter. Well, I had a tour the next night, same location. And we talked about provoking. And I said, for example, don't say this. And I said that someone who had been on the thing the night before had done it. And I was pretty sure he was going to face plant. Well, at the end of that investigation, 4 people stayed and said, did the gentleman look like this? And I said, yeah, why? And she said, he's staying in our hotel. He was on a walking tour we did the night before and was obnoxious and left that to go somewhere. They said, must have come to you. And we saw them that night and they were drunk or whatever else. And then they said they were leaving to let's go back out or something. She said, then we saw him on the elevator this morning and his head with stitches.
Oh,
and they asked him, dude, what happened to you? I fell. He did. He face planted in the quarter and he had to go to the hospital. He had to go to the ER. He spent the night in the ER. I went, oh, literally.
There you go. So everybody that's in the chat, remember that if you go down to New Orleans.
That's why we say don't provoke. Even the non.
I only handle spirit one way, and I treat them with the utmost respect.
Yep.
and they're like family. So I don't want anybody to come ahead and try to set my pants on fire.
Yeah. Or make you trip over nothing and have to go to the ER. Said he had stitches like all across his head, like right here or something.
He is probably lucky that that's all that happened.
I know. Isn't that amazing? So what are the odds, right, that I say that, and then the odds that the next night people that is see the universe working again? Like I was meant to hear the end of that story.
Right.
It was interesting.
And that poor guy was tagged when he left the tour.
And we just turned around and looked at the portrait and said, "Nicely played, sir."
So this is
We
the
tried to warn
way
him.
he used to look.
Yeah.
He doesn't look anything like that now.
No.
So what's on the agenda for the holidays for you? Are you working right through, or
Close Thanksgiving, but yeah, we're working right through. Close Christmas and even day, but we'll work right through. Even we're open New Year's. We're done before midnight. So yeah, all open for the rest of the month.
so
This week's
you go ahead.
I was saying this week's a little slower because it's that in between Thanksgiving break and things. But
I want to say excuse me for jumping in like that for
no.
but the now I forgot the point or what I was going to say. That I think it had to do with the fact that being down there too, you also get to meet a whole bunch of really, really unbelievable people. Not only in the French Quarter in New Orleans, but if you go down to what's the name of that city? They did a TV series, a ghost series in the town, and somebody help me.
never make the spirits angry. I'm trying to think.
Saint
Someone's got to know. I'm trying to think too.
Morgan
wish-
City. Morgan City.
Oh yeah, I have not been down there.
That's some place that I would want to go to.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate enough to know a character actor that plays in a lot of those zombie movies,
Mhm.
zombie series on TV, and he was my partner on the other two shows that I do. He was fortunate enough to become friends with him down there, and then he went ahead and he said, whenever you want to come on the show, come on the show. He's been on the show about 4 times. And I know I shouldn't have started this because I don't know, I can't remember his name. But he'll come on the show and he'll be there, and he'll be going around doing little parts here and parts there, trying to make ends meet. And he lives right next door to the crocodile guy or the alligator guy.
I'm just going to see if I can Morgan City Ghost Show. Paranormal. Let's find it. Paranormal. MAL. How about the Ghost of Morgan City?
Right.
Yeah, like literally, I think that's the name. The cast.
That was KD Stafford.
Oh, Katie Stafford. Yeah. Yep.
And Linda Kaza.
Yep.
And Jeremy Leonard. Have you been around Jeremy Leonard at all?
No. Uh-oh.
I'm just curious. No, I'm just
No.
curious. Because he's a demonologist.
Oh, fun. Okay.
If you get an opportunity, check him out, but I think he's close to you
Okay.
down there. And he is, once again, he does acting,
Okay.
and he was in that series. So he was the demonologist.
I think I watched that. I'd have to go back and watch it again to
He's
have
the
it.
he's the big guy.
Okay. I'll have to go
You
back
know,
and watch.
between a demon and him, I don't know if I'd want to go ahead and go at either one. It's a no-win situation. That's for sure.
That's funny.
But we're going to go ahead and shut her down now. It's 10 after, and I'm sure that you probably have things a little bit down the road that you want to get done tonight. But,
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody that's in the chat. It's been a great night. It was really good to see a lot of the people. Len Dorman's here, and he's from Arkansas, so
Okay.
he knows about certain people in the
What
South.
part? I lived in Arkansas for a while.
Let's see if
I lived in Northwest.
That was 4 minutes ago. Maybe he'll go ahead. He says, never made the spirits of Nola angry.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah, I lived in Northwest Arkansas for a while. Got married in Eureka Springs. Talk about haunted. There you go.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I heard about Springs. And it's really nice to have everybody here. And most of all, Jennifer, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You gave a lot of good information to a lot of people, and you made it a little easier on them because now they know how they should really handle spirits, especially if they happen to be investigators.
Yes.
So people, thank you very much. You guys have a great evening. Jennifer, once again, thank you for being here. It was my honor to have you on, and it was a lot of fun. So if you want to hold on for a couple minutes, and then we'll chat for a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.